YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, coming back to you in Total War Warhammer 2, where I have some Chaos versus Bretonnia action for you. I hope you're pretty excited. This is a match that I haven't seen too much of. It involves a lot of Chaos Infantry, which is always fun. So let's jump into it and take a look. Sorry, I had to fix my headphones real quick. Made me go crazy on the screen. So, what is the Chaos Army that we got? We got several Chaos Warriors, and these are just the standard warriors. They have they're very good against unarmored foes, is what they're good at. And they have shields and high armor, and I mean high armor. So these units are going to be very good at resisting non-armor piercing missiles and fighting low armor units, which Bertoni has quite a number of. They're supported by some Chosen with halberds in the back lines. And these are going to be fantastic picks against Bertoni in the sense that you know there's probably going to be some nice cavalry on the field, and these guys will not die easy to cavalry. Should be very tough units as well, very heavily armored. Should be good against just about anything Bertoni can throw. We've got Kolek Sun Eater and a Death Sorcerer, and the Death Sorcerer has Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. There is one Chaos Chariot unit, and then there are 3 Marauder Horse Masters hidden towards the back of the map. So let's go check out the Bertoni army real quick. A whole front line of peasants. Not a bad idea if you have the extra money left over to do it. The peasants can serve as a charge blocker, especially if there's a bunch of Forsaken. They can also serve as a charge blocker against cavalry and other things. And then not only that, as the Chaos units have to hack down the peasants, it does eat away at their vigor, which will leave them more tired for the main fight. So not necessarily a bad choice, even though you know they won't do any damage themselves. There are going to be 4 foot squires in a backline, which is the best infantry that Bertoni can field. They're supported by a couple of spears, and then there's a couple of peasant bows with pox arrows. But then the meat of the Bertonian army is made up of these hippogriff knights who are supporting King Lewin. And we've got King Lewin here. So basically you got your Bertonian goon squad. A lot of people don't use the Hippogriff Knights because they think they're too squishy, they're not any good. Well, they aren't good at certain things, and they are a bit squishy, but what they are good for is nuking high armor, high value, single model units like Kolek. They pack a massive wallop on the charge, a 50 charge bonus with 135 armor piercing damage. Not all of it's armor piercing, obviously, but a considerable portion of it. So that's what the Royal Hippogriff Knights do. They go after a high-value target like that, and they make great support for Lewin, who is also a high-damage, anti-armor, mobile damage dealer. And if you combine them with the fact that Lewin has certain stuff like the shield that can give extra parry, and then he's also got the Sword of Couronne, which will drop enemy stats, it makes Lewin quite versatile along with those units. So if we jump in here and kind of take a look at what's going on, I actually really like what the Chaos player did here by bringing these Marauder Horsemen, Horse Masters, sorry. They're going to help damage the enemy flyer units, and Lewin does heal, and the more damage you do to him early, the more his healing gets used up early, and the better possibility you have to get him off of the battlefield altogether. Over here, the Marauder Horse Masters pull up really close, but then they get hit by the pox arrows, which slows them down enough to where they can actually be caught by the Royal Hippogriff Knights and destroyed. So these Horse Masters got too close to the peasant bows with the pox arrows, and they paid a very quick price. Got to remember that you lose speed when you get hit by the pox arrows because they cause poison. And it also drops leadership, which isn't going to help you when you're getting charged by Royal Hippogriff Knights either. Now here comes the Peasant Mob. I guess their daily duties on the farm are so obnoxiously crappy that they would rather throw themselves into the Warriors of Chaos. There's going to be a unit of chariots plowing through. Lewin was over on the flank trying to deal some damage. These chariots aren't even really needed to get rid of these peasants, but will give a little bit of extra punching power. Now here I think that the chariots are getting ahead of themselves a bit, but they're probably trying to get in here and cause some damage to all these swords. They do manage to avoid most of the Hippogriff charge, but those Hippogriffs will make short work of the chariots if they can get them stopped. So Chaos easily punching through the peasant line, and now Bertoni is getting ready to reinforce with their foot squires, who will do okay versus Chaos warriors. I don't think they'll do great. They will certainly not do great versus Chosen with halberds. The Chosen should probably destroy those guys. And you can see, though, again, these Hippogriff Knights getting all over these chariots. Lewin lands close to Kolek without the Hippogriff Knights and does start to take quite a beating. He's also being spirit leeched by the Chaos Death Sorcerer there. And that's exactly who Lewin is targeting. He wants to get rid of that Death Sorcerer. You can see that Lewin has all of this stuff going on here, including Soul Blight, and the Lion's Shield. All kinds of good stuff happening for Lewin. But these Hippogriff Knights are lined up for a charge, and let's watch the damage that they're able to deal. It looks like they're trying to target the Death Sorcerer here, honestly. I think that they really want that Death Sorcerer gone first. Kind of surprised not to see a Fate of Buna on the Hippogriff Knights. But, I mean, there is a Damsel of Life around, so I don't know if that magic use would get negated. You see some of the Foot Squires already giving way. The Chariots, though, were dealt with. But more Foot Squires over here. Bertonia's Goon Squad is still perfectly intact. They destroyed the Death Sorcerer, and just look how quickly that Goon Squad is dealing with Kolek. And trust me, Kolek is quite good against other large targets. Quite good. One of the best, in fact. But when he's got these units charging down at him from the air, he can't countercharge them, which means that they're going to get a charge bonus, and he will not. So definitely one way of dealing with Kolek. He does manage to get rid of the Damsel Lore of Life, and I think she is meant to be chased by these Horse Masters. We'll see whether or not they can get to her because there are some units in the way. So she may be able to make it back into the fight. That's an unfortunate break for Chaos, who had the right idea there, chasing her down. And a good use for the Horse Masters. And here you can see that Lewin catches Kolek once again. Kolek starts delivering some crushing blows to Lewin. And that's not terribly surprising, but here comes the Hippogriff Knights again. This is the support unit that Lewin needs here in order to give him the edge in this fight that Kolek would probably be able to handle otherwise. And you're going to see that Kolek immediately takes a lot of damage and is attempting to get away. But how do you get away from a unit that's just as fast as you and that flies? You can see that the Bretonian player, being smart, pulling those Hippogriff Knights backwards out of the charge to get them back into the air and ready to cycle into another charge. That is going to leave Kolek very, very dead here. So there he goes. So Kolek is out of the fight, and the only thing that Chaos has going for him now, though, is the high armor and relatively solid morale of their infantry. No matter how solid that morale is, though, you've got terror-causing units for Bertonia with Lewin and the Royal Hippogriff Knights, and as is standard, Chaos Infantry is not immune to psychology, not even the Chosen. Such things don't exist yet in the game. So Chaos, having lost their leader, getting hit with the Sword of Coron, it kind of depends. Right now it's only Lewin here, but here comes a rear charge by a terror-causing unit, so let's see what happens. See whether or not the Chaos forces can hold their leadership together. Lewin is taking a beating at the hands of these halberds. But you can see that the Hippogriff Knights here are able to deliver some punishing charges. The question is, can they get out? With the help of these Peasant Mobs and Spearmen at Arms, they will certainly be able to do better at it because the infantry will give them blocking in order to pull out of a charge. These Royal Hippogriff Knights took what they thought was probably going to be a pretty easy fight over here and are ended up getting bogged down for quite a while against these Marauder Horse Masters. So they've gotten quite a bit of damage. You can see all the regrouping Bretonian infantry blobbing into a fight here. The blob certainly won't help Chaos. It helps them in the sense that they have each other around for morale support, but it won't help them in the sense that it clogs them all up in one spot to be hit by the charges of Lewin and his Hippogriff Knights. Lewin is over here dealing with the Chaos Chariots. He'll be back shortly, but he doesn't have a whole lot of health left, and that leaves quite a lot of Chaos Infantry left to face some Bretonian Hippogriff Knights. And Lewin, you can see over here the Pox Bowmen trying to drive off the remainder of these Marauder Horse Masters, who are mostly out of ammo, but could have been helpful at running down routing units for sure. And the Chaos Infantry, no surprise here, prevailing. Chaos Infantry is very good. It's very good. It just seems, in my opinion, from all the times that I've played Chaos, it just seems very easy to break up their morale if you have the right forces. If you don't have the right forces, going toe-to-toe with Chaos Infantry can be quite painful, as they are good, they're just very expensive. Just very expensive. You see here the Hippogriff Knights kind of circling, looking for a target. Not sure exactly who they want. Some of the Horsemasters managed to come back at the last second. That really sucks for Bertoni, who's going to take a rear charge by the Horsemasters and may lose a... Yep, they're going to lose a Pox Bowman that had quite a bit of ammo left. That would have been extremely helpful for Bertoni to not have lost that. So those Horsemasters getting a clutch play there. You can see the rest of these Bertonian units over here. One of them potentially could come back, but the others not so much. The Hippogriff Knights diving in, trying to get rid of the Horsemasters. One of them is stuck in combat. This is definitely a risk with them. You certainly don't want them fighting high armor infantry in a prolonged melee. If you look at their... let's take a look at their stats here. Their melee defense is only 35. It's okay, but it's not great. They're not shielded either. So Lewin's chasing off the Horsemasters that wrecked his Pox Bows. The Pox Bows may come back from routing. It is possible, but their leadership is being quite slow to recover right now, and Chaos is trying to stay in a group, avoid getting singled out and destroyed by charges. So you can see them kind of forming up a little formation here. And Bertoni is going to be looking to regroup its forces. Let's kind of fast forward and get to the next phase of the battle here. See, Bertoni has regrouped, just waiting on Lewin to come back in. He's probably got the Sword of Coron. You can see the Horsemasters there making little feint charges. There goes the Sword of Coron, and then Lewin's going to dive in. Risky because he's very damaged, but they need that sword to nerf the all the Chaos infantry down here. They need it badly. And we'll see if it works. So far, though, because of how much infantry is left, it is helping Chaos not suffer terror routes, which would otherwise have been very, very possible. But now with the leadership getting loaned, yep, there it goes. Terror, terror. That's all you got to do is get your leadership a little bit lower, and the terror kicks in, and with those units routing, then the next ones become more vulnerable. Let's see whether Bertoni can keep the terror route contagious here. It's still just 2 units that suffered it. The Chosen with Halberds are standing their ground very valiantly for the moment. One of them just got lowered leadership there, too. It can happen really easily if they turn their back, get attacked in the rear, or something happens like that. The others routing. Now, these units did route in terror, but they've already come back for Chaos, which this is going to be a huge boon. Lewin is getting very low on health. Another unit routing, though. Those Chosen with Halberds standing tall, standing strong in a fight where their weapon damage is quite effective. Lewin is going to be routed. He is done healing, which leaves only these Hippogriff Knights and some Spearmen at Arms as a last resort for Bertoni here. Let's just kind of see how that turns out. They'll probably try and get Lewin back into the fight, but you can see that these Royal Hippogriff Knights kind of get stuck. They have good mass when they charge, but they're not spectacular at pulling out of the fights. They can get caught up on the infantry and then start to get killed, as you saw there. There's going to be a cycle charge from the 2 Hippogriff Knights, and these charges are going to be gruesome. It's late in the game. The enemy infantry's tired. Their leadership's getting low. They don't have a lord. The Bertonian lord came back from routing. And indeed, we get a terror rout on Chaos right there. So 1 unit of Chosen routing the terror. That's going to leave the other one much more vulnerable to the same. And if Bertoni is able to get those charges cycled properly, it'll be doom for Chaos. Look at that, 113 kills. Again, people usually say that the Hippogriff Knights are complete trash. I don't find that to be true. I just find that they have to be used properly. And in this scenario, I think against Chaos, they're a very solid pick. Very solid pick. They deal armor-piercing damage, and you're not terribly likely... You can, but you're not terribly likely to come into a big aerial dogfight with Chaos. And they don't have a lot of armor-piercing ranged. Just Marauder Horsemasters with throwing axes, which makes the Hippogriff Knights a fairly safe pick, because you know there's going to be a lot of armored targets for you to hit. With only 40 seconds left, there are some Chosen with Halberds who are wavering, impacted by the Sword of Coron yet again. And Lewin here down to his last 27 hit points, and he goes down, so the king dies. at a very inopportune moment for Bretonnia, and there are more Chaos Warriors regrouping, including Chosen in the background, so I think Bretonnia is going to be... I think they're going to have the victory snatched from them here in the last moments by Chaos, who pulls it back by their infantry regrouping and just being too numerous for the Hippogriff Knights to deal with. So there you go. For some people, this will be a happy ending, seeing the Chaos Infantry able to survive the onslaught of all those forces in the late game. A lot of people get mad because you can terrify units like Chosen. I'm probably amongst those. I feel like that with the price of Chosen, they should probably be immune to psychology. But I keep having people tell me, oh, there's marks of chaos. There's all this other stuff they'll get that will help make up for that. Yeah, okay, so be it. But yeah, that's the story, I guess, that people keep telling me. Anyway, great game between Halo and Brandflakes, and really appreciate Halo submitting it. It was very close indeed. It's fun to see some heavy infantry play from Chaos, supported by the Horsemasters, supported by Kolek. And then from the Bretonian side, the good old-fashioned aerial goon squad with the Hippogriff Knights and Lewin and his Sword of Coron. It can be very effective and challenging to deal with, especially how it was supported with that Damsel of Life. She was able to use Regrowth and Earthblood quite effectively. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I do hope you all enjoyed this. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe, click that bell, and if you did enjoy the battle, put a thumbs up there for Halo and Brandflakes for giving us an awesome battle. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.